Welcome back to the Tasman Revival Series for 2009, and this is the headline act, if you like, the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy for 2009, and this is the race leader, and he has got a huge advantage over second place now. Second place continues to be Tony Richards, but it is Ken Smith, the X-Side battery supported Lola T430, owned by David Abbott. Here is the man in second place. Smithy stretching out that lead to over 15, in fact 18 seconds now. Once again, you see there Tony Richards on full wets, and they're looking for wet parts of the track because unbelievably from the cloudburst we had at the beginning of this race, the weather has changed yet again. Hamish Patterson just pulls over and lets the Maestro go through the Southern Salvage turn, heading up to Cochrane Nissan now. We're using the 3.33 kilometre circuit here for the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy. No dip up for the 5000s. 14 there, Russell Greer. He's had his problems, but he's still out there, and plenty have called it a day. Aaron Burson decided the conditions were too much. He's gone back into the pits, probably to marvel at his dad Peter's new BRM Formula 1 car. There is Tony Richards. Ian Clements, currently sitting just inside the top 10 at the moment. Another one that's had his problems early on. Out of pothole comes Tony Richards. He can probably barely see Ken Smith. That's the advantage he's got at the moment. Now, I mentioned before that Ken Smith has won this title twice already. Well, in 1976, if you were hip and groovy, you were listening to ABBA or the Brotherhood of Man on your transistor radios, and occasionally a little bit of a young upstart from England called Elton John. In 1976, Kenny Smith was winning the Lady Wigram Trophy in a Lola T332. And here, nearly 33 years to the day, he is leading the Lady Wigram Trophy in the David Abbott-owned Lola T430. Well, by 1991, that was the second time that Smithy won the Lady Wigram. The fashions hadn't got much better because grunge had taken over the world, but another more serious epidemic had taken over the world, and that was AIDS, and it claimed one of its high-profile victims in 91 in the form of Freddie Mercury. Ken Smith won the Lady Wigram Trophy in a Formula Pacific, a Swift DB4, 1.6-litre engine. But here he is in 2009, maybe with history about to repeat itself. Kenny Smith continues to lead, and I can tell you that the rain has stopped once again here at Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway, but you just get the feeling looking skyward that maybe it is going to make its return before this race concludes. So this car raced by Teddy Paulette in the team colours. The sister car, David Abbott, is out there, but I can tell you that David Abbott is actually running on slick tyres, and he said to us before, you'd think you were mad if you went out on slick tyres, but unfortunately his wet tyres didn't fit. He's had to go out there on the slicks. Ian Clements still battles on in the conditions here, and once again you see the rain pelting down again here at Powerbuilt Tools Raceway. Well, that is good news if you're a fan of wet weather tyres. These Avon tyres that all these cars run, they get to survive, because look at this. It is absolutely teeming down here in Christchurch. Well, we've seen some amazing weather conditions. Earlier on, it was sunny. Yesterday, it was a hot summer's day, and within the space of around about a half an hour, the clouds darkened over the racetrack and the heavens have opened up again. Kerry Anderson just moving aside for Tony Richards there. Richards still sits in second place. Hamish Patterson in the chevron just ahead of him, making his first appearance here at Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway, the Aucklander. There is Paul Christie in one of the older cars there. It's a Lola T190, and there is the race leader, Ken Smith, sneaking up on him to put him a lap down. Well, there's some amazing stories in the MSC Formula 5000 Tasman Revival Series, brought to you in association with Smith & Davies, Toll, Bonnie's Transport and Pacifica. And one of those stories is the fact that way back in 1976, when Ken Smith first won his first Lady Wigram Trophy, he had a team of engineers, Barry Miller and Phil Richardson. Well, here we are, 33 years to the day, and Barry and Phil are still on the crew. So is the fat man, that is Doug McKechnie, and also Murray Whitehead. So Team Geriatrics, they call it. And Kenny Smith, well into his 60s now, and still one of the best races in New Zealand, showing this field just why he has that accolade. There is Jay Esterer. Now, he won't like it any longer because I thought he was starting to get a handle on the McRae GM1 when the track dried out, but the rain has come back here at Powerbuilt Tools Raceway, and that means this ill-handling car is going to give him some problems. Graham McRae is here, of course. He is a three-time winner of this very prestigious title. He's been advising Jay Esterer right throughout this two-day weekend, the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy weekend. Tony Richards, well, he's just been going about his business. He's been Ken Smith's nemesis right throughout the 2 rounds in Australia at Sandown Raceway and also at Eastern Creek. Although Ken Smith had a clean sheet at Eastern Creek, he won every single race. But Tony Richards was never far away. Well, he's second at the moment, but he is far away, I can tell you. He's now over 20 seconds behind the amazing Ken Smith. So whatever Team Geriatrics are doing is working as Smith rounds up car number 21. This is Lindsay O'Donnell. Well, I bet he wishes he was in his tin top. You can see the shiny surface on the track, and it just means that the drivers have got to treat it with such a lot of respect. Heading down into the Southern Salvage turn once again, and up into Cockramness, and then it's down the short chute, and the Rock FM sweeper. It's one of the singular chances on the racetrack. You see Ken just being motioned over by his sister car. That's David Abbott. Remember, Abbott is on slicks, so he would really be struggling under these conditions. This is a race for position. Stan Redman looking to get around Jay Esterer. And this pass for 4th and 5th. Well, they've been toing and froing right throughout this 15-lap race. Well, scheduled to go over 15 laps. And you can see once again, Jay Esterer, the back of the McRae, just steps out as he gets on the throttle. Tony Richards has just put another lap on Frank Lyons, our visitor from the United Kingdom that's come down regularly for the Tasman Revival Series. He's driving a New Zealand car, that's the Beg. As we go back to the race leader, Exide Batteries supported Ken Smith. Well, he's driven every type of car in his long and historied career, from tin tops to single seaters, but he tells me he absolutely loves the Formula 5000s. Something special about driving these cars, he tells me. And this is the event he's been building for. Sure, he's done well in all the previous rounds of the MSC Formula 5000 Tasman Revival Series in association with Smith & Davies, Pacifica, Bonnie's Transport, Toll and Express Transport. But it's the Lady Wigram that he wanted. He's a 3-time New Zealand Grand Prix champion. He's done that in 3 decades, and he'd love to be a 3-time champion of the Lady Wigram Trophy. To join the New Zealand winners such as Bruce McLaren, David Oxton, Graham McRae, as we mentioned before. And I'm sure that some of the older spectators will have a bit of a lump in the throat here, because this is history in the making. And what about the comeback drive from Stan Redman? Spun out in the early going, found the only dust cloud on the racetrack here at Powerbuilt Tools Raceway, got back into it, and now is up into 4th place. And the rain has come down with a vengeance. Now, you'd be confused for thinking that this may be Grand Prix hydroplanes. Certainly looks the same, the big rooster tail out the back, the bow wave, and the water all over the circuit. If the conditions were bad before, have a look at them now. Ken Smith, of course, has got all the advantages in the world because he is the leader by a huge margin. He can afford to cruise just a little bit, and there's pretty near nothing but clear track in front of him. But when he comes up on the lap traffic, there's Kerry Anderson just moving out of the way for Stan Redman. You just get a face full of spray. Sure, these guys will be wearing tear-offs on their visors, but I noticed that Jay Esterer is actually using a tinted visor. So maybe the glare is a problem on the back straight, not a problem for Stan Redman, not a problem for Kerry Anderson either in car number 8, and not a problem for this man. Out of Southern Salvage and up into Cockramness, and once again, and if it's believable, the conditions have got worse. Look at that. Looks like we're doing a lap around Lake Taupo. We're not. We're at Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway in the middle of a tropical downpour. It's not cold, so that's a plus for the spectators, and you can see them there in the background just rushing for cover once again as the rain comes back with a vengeance, but it is wet. And I can tell you the lap times have slipped further and the red flags have come out. So the officials here at the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy have seen sense and they have abandoned this with laps to remain. Well, that is the sensible thing. These cars are pieces of history. The drivers are very precious. The last thing we need is an incident. So Kenny Smith will make history here and win for the third time. 33 years virtually to the day since he won in the first time in 1976 in a Formula 5000 car. He wins the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy. Oh, and there's problems behind him, even in the slowdown. Well, he's had concentration right throughout the 12 or so laps, but Stan Redmond gets it wrong. Well, this man doesn't get it wrong on his warm-down lap now. Ken Smith will make history here and win for the third time as his teammate, David Abbott, races for shelter with the mechanics post, just sheltering from these heavy, heavy drops of rain that have put a premature halt on the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy. But for the third time in history, Kenny Smith is the champion of the Lady Wigram Trophy. Second place is Tony Richards in the Lola T332, and in third place it's Ian Clements.
It means a lot because driving the 5000, you know, both times was good, isn't it? I mean, we got it in 90 in a Atlantic car. Not the same feeling to go back into one of these, which I sort of dreamed about wanting to do, but never sort of ended up getting one to do full running in it. But, you know, a very special thanks has to go to David Abbott, because without him, I'd be struggling to find the right car to drive, you know, and I got good backing again from Exide, and they believe in what I'm doing. And Barry Miller and Phil Richardson, the two mechanics I had back in the early days, and they're doing a marvellous job. And they were quite proud that they were on range before anyone else, and we were up there waiting for them for 6 minutes. So not bad for a pair of old boys, is it?
Coverage of the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy is dedicated to the memory of Dorothy Smith. Welcome to Powerbuilt Tools International Raceway for the Lady Wigram Trophy, brought to you by the Christchurch Casino, and a man going for history. 32 years virtually to the day since he won it last. Ken Smith looking for a win here in Christchurch.
Oh, it'd be fantastic, because to get those even sort of dates after all those years, it would be very good. And, you know, we'll be trying. So the car will get the hardest drive it's ever had this season when that race starts. You know, I want to win it this year, but and I'd like to win the Lady Wigram. With a bit of luck, you know, we might be able to ease it in.
Mate, you've always had luck in the past, so good luck with that.
Yeah, we can only try, hey? We can be in the top 20, I suppose, can't we?
Welcome to our coverage of the Christchurch Casino Lady Wigram Trophy. Peter and Aaron Burson run a very successful truck and trailer components company in Auckland. Originally from down south, they also own some pretty handy racing equipment. Aaron races a Talon MR1A, whilst Dad Peter a McRae GM1. But the Bursons have added to the family.
It's a 1974 P201 BRM. It's a Formula 1 car. It's chassis number 2. It's one of 5 that were originally built. There's only 2 that are still road going or race going at the moment. It's obviously a Formula 1 car. It's a 3-litre V12 engine and develops around about 430 horsepower. They definitely did have some reliability issues. So yeah, but modern day technologies and modern day oils have pretty well overcome some of the problems that they had with narrow bearings. It was usually to do with bearing life in these particular engines, but modern day oils have overcome a lot of those problems. The reason why we purchased it was that we actually represent a brand of trailer axles in our company back in Auckland called Brewbury Owen Rockwell, and that was originally owned by the Owen family, who also owned the BRM racing car company. They were very innovative engineers, and the best examples we can probably give you is the fact that in 1951 they developed a 1.5-litre V16 engine, albeit that it was supercharged for a Formula One car, and it developed 600 horsepower out of a 1.5 litre engine in 1951, and that's